Welcome back to Punchlines. It is Shay McMurdo, your host. Mike is not currently with us. He's in the middle of a call with the job that actually pays him money. But we are trained, or excuse me, I'm sorry. We are joined today by trainer, former fighter. He's been in the ring with legends such as Marco Antonio Barrera and Eric Morales. And he's joining us all the way from Frankfurt, Germany today, where he is now training his new fighter. You might see him on Snacks page, the supplement company that's, not just number one in the sport of boxing, but the only one. If you want to buy their products, use code BStreet25. That's our guest's code, and you'll get 25% off all your products. And he is none other than the legendary Mr. Eddie Croft. So how are you doing today?
I'm doing excellent. Thank you. That was a very generous introduction. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, it comes deserved, though. If you listen to our episode last week, Unprovoked, former champion Andrew, the Polish Prince Fanfara, brought you up. So definitely a name that carries respect. And anybody who listens to this show knows how much we revere professional boxers. And the fact that you've been in there with anyone, let alone two of the best ever, is a huge accomplishment that not a lot of people get to say they've been able to do in their lifetime. And now that you're training, what has this transition, because you said you opened your gym, B Street Boxing, in San Mateo, California. You said you opened it in 2008.
Yes. I'll go back a little bit. So, you know what? I started martial arts as a little kid, 5 years old. This is in, 1974. And the thing about martial arts is you are always helping the people that come after you, right? No matter how old you are, right? So if, when you first start off, you start off as a white belt in karate, your next belt's yellow, or at least at our school it was. So yellow belts help the white belts. So even as a little kid, I was teaching, right? So as a kid, I was teaching other kids. And then, I got a black belt at about, I was 11 when I got my black belt, and then 14.
In which martial art?
Well, it was Taekwondo, but back then, it wasn't Olympic style Taekwondo like it is today. It was more like a Japanese style karate, right? It was more along the lines of Shotokan. And, especially in the 70s, like everything was a lot more real. There wasn't a lot of litigation. So, in the schools, we fought hard, we punched each other in the face, people lost teeth. I had teeth knocked out, and it was just different than it is today.
Right.
And, so, to get over to boxing, when I was 17 in my senior year of high school, I wanted to kickbox, and so we started going that route. And this one of the guys in my karate school was his brother was a professional former boxer, former pro out of our area. He trained at Newman's Gym in San Francisco, and that gym had been there since 1935. Guys like Ray Robinson, George Foreman, guys like that came through. And there was an old trainer in there, this guy Al Citrino, and this was like in the 80s. He must have been like, let me see, in 1988, he probably was like 80 by this time, right? And he was training guys still at that time,
right?
And he fought Henry Armstrong. Right?
Oh,
so,
damn.
Yeah. So I was like, oh, so when I met him, and so the guy who trained me is a guy named Johnny Nava. He fought out of Pacifica, California, which is, a little coastal town right outside San Francisco. And, he let me see, I think he finished like 21, something similar to me, like 21-3 or something like that. Right. And he was a sparring partner for Hagler and stuff. So like when he came into my karate school and was like sparring with the guys, I said, you know what, if I'm going to kickbox, I need to learn how to do that. And, I asked him if he would show me, and he started training me. He would come to my karate school every day and start showing me. And then finally he said, "Hey, you should fight in the Golden Gloves." And this is in the 88 gloves. He goes, "You should fight in the Golden Gloves." I said, "All right, I'll try it." And, I fought in the novice division and I won. And then, I won two more gloves after that. I won 90 and 91 in the open division. One outstanding boxer 1 year, San Francisco gloves. And, and the nationals, I would always kind of like make the quarterfinals and never quite get to the finals. Right. But I end up like 6th in the country as an amateur. And then I turned pro in 91. And won my first 18 fights. I lost kind of controversially. I thought that, that in my 19th fight, but, no big deal. I kind of brushed that off. And
who was the opponent in that one?
Gerardo Martinez.
And what happened that made it controversial? Just the scorecards, just typical boxing?
No. You know what it was the score was fair, right? But there was, in one round, I hit him with a body shot and he pulled a veteran move, right? He had already fought for a title and, he was a veteran, right? And so I hit him with a body shot and he grabbed his balls and kind of started rolling around on the ground. And the referee said it was a low blow. And it wasn't low. It wasn't low.
Oh, so he allowed him to ref his own fight.
Yeah. So like I would have won by knockout, right? And so like, and so like the first round was crazy. He knocked me down, I got up and I dropped him twice. And the ref called the first knockdown a slip. And then I knocked him down again because I knew he was hurt. So I knocked him down again. And, it just, so like after that, I was just looking for one punch. And then, I caught him with that body shot and I thought that was the punch. I got him. Right.
Right.
And it and they took a point away from me and gave him like 5 minutes to recover. And so, I ended up losing that fight. And then my very next fight, I fought a guy, Hector Acero Sanchez, who ended up winning. He beat Tracy Harris Patterson he beat Tracy Harris Patterson for the title. And I went to New York where he was fighting out of, fought him at the Felt Forum, which I think it's called the Hulu Theater now, or it's the little arena underneath the main garden.
Yeah,
right.
They still put on fights there.
Yeah. So we fought there, and that was 10-round draw. And then a couple fights later, that guy, he won the title. And I was, always chasing that rematch and just, it never happened. So like, and then, I ended up fighting my first title fight. I fought a guy, Tom Johnson, who, it's like the longest reigning American featherweight champion ever. Or, at the time. And that, he beat me. And like, by that time I was, I had an eye injury, a little nerve damage in my eye. And I'm really like, at this time I'm fighting with one eye, so.
Was it from like an orbital bone or something?
No, they can never figure it out.
Even to this day?
Yeah, to this day.
Huh.
And so like I can see out of my left eye, but I don't really use it because it doesn't point in the right direction, right? If I close my right eye, then I can see out of my left eye. Then I'm using my left eye. But if I open my right eye, I'm only using my right eye. So, really, it's like, it just changed everything for me. It's like depth perception and my best, my ability to counterpunch was one of my best, my strengths. And so with the depth perception and everything, it just like changed the way I had to fight. So like all my title fights I fought handicapped.
How many fights did you fight like that?
Well, I fought Johnson, Barrera, then I had a couple, maybe 5.
So you fought Barrera and Morales with
and
basically
Johnson,
an
yeah,
armed. Damn,
with one
that
eye. Yeah,
is insane.
yeah.
That's. I thought Kell Brook was a pimp for fighting Golovkin and Spence with his eyes messed up, but that's absurd. That's like another Bay Area guy, an absolute legend, my favorite fighter of all time, like Andre Ward. I found when you found out that he fought a lot of his fights with basically almost
One arm.
yeah, inoperable right shoulder pretty much, and it wasn't even
Yeah.
his backhand. It's incredible, especially the guys he was able to beat doing that. It's just that's the type of shit. Like I don't think like I explained this to Mario Barrios when he was on. When you're part of that world, you kind of forget that most people don't do shit like that. You're surrounded by killers. You're surrounded by people with that mindset of doing things like that. And it's when you come to the outside world, like where I'm part of, it's when you hear somebody doing something like that, you're like, that is insane. That is it's not. Yeah.
You know, I laugh, you know, at it a lot. I look, you know, I think back and go, man, you know, when I was fighting, I was a complete different person. I wasn't even a person. I was an animal, right? And I
You
just
have to be though.
it didn't matter what the circumstances were or you know what the odds were. I just felt like no one could beat me or no one could hurt me. It would take a bat to stop me if you could even do that, right? And so yeah, a lot of times I feel like fighters have it a lot easier today, and rightfully, you know, it's great. I'm all for protecting the fighters, and you know, like guys pull out just for little things now, right? You know, I don't know, they got the flu, they got you know a little sick, but I got to pull out of this fight. I remember fighting with the flu, you know, more than once,
Yeah.
right? And you know, they're much more scientific about making weight than we were or I was, right? There, you know, times I would eat every other day, you know, and not
Well,
drink much water.
how
You
much
know,
do
I
you
would just,
think your fight game would have been better if you had somebody like Snack back then?
oh, I would have been champ.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
because
yeah, for
it's just
sure.
a game changer. It
Yeah,
like the recovery, like everything in the fight and after the fight. Yeah, it's a
yeah,
game changer.
and just the guys that make weight. So, you know, I walked around like close to 140 pounds, and I fought at 122, right? But I really think I could have made 118, or especially with the guy, you know, like I didn't know about you know losing weight in a hot bath with Epsom salt, right? And like and just you know kind of sucking out all the water that way. I didn't know about
Hmm.
that. You know, if I would have known about that, I probably you know I would have easily made 118, maybe even 115, and you know tried to win titles down there. Um, so yeah, you know, and it's great to see like just how science has evolved and now like fighters are embracing it. And I'm you know really lucky to have an association with Snack where you know the guys that I'm training can get that.
Right. Yeah, it's huge. It's massive, and um, just the lifestyle of a fighter. Like you see the guys like Gervonta Davis and Errol Spence, and you think being a fighter is the shit, but you forget that 99% of these guys in between fights they are horribly stressed. Like, okay, what am I going to do for money until I fight again? Not a lot. And I found this out since I started the show. A lot of these guys don't even have sponsors. Like you assume they do, but they don't. It's sad, man.
Yeah, well, that's the thing with boxing, right? So you know, in life, right, the world, they you know 90% of the or 10% of the people in the world have 90% of the money, right?
Yeah.
And and in boxing, it's probably even the percentage is probably 5% of the fighters have 90% of the money,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so, you know, most fighters have jobs. You know, if you think about it, unless they have, you know, a manager with money or guys coming out of the Olympics. So, you know, so for a while I was an assistant with for Virgil Hunter, right?
Right.
So, you know, I was over there for, I don't know, maybe 3 years. I'm trying to think. And, you know, the guys I worked with the most were Berto, and there's another guy, Levon Gavami Chava, we called him Wolf. Those were the two guys I worked with the most. But you know, and I remember I was talking to Amir Khan one time, and you know, he was saying, so you know, he's a, you know, an Olympian. He came out, and so basically he was rich when he started
Yeah.
as a
Silver
pro, right?
medalist.
Right. And so, you know, I said, dude, for my first fight, I got $400, right?
Huh?
And after I paid everybody, I had $152. And he looked at me and was like, "What?" I go, "Dude," and I believe me, I was happy because that was the first time ever in my life that I got paid to fight, right?
Oh,
I,
yeah.
you know, I was, you know, you always, you're paying to fight most of the time.
Yeah.
That's, you know, as an amateur, you know, you pay a little, like $5 to, you know, enter the Golden Gloves, or,
Well,
you know,
that's
I'm
why.
paying, you know, paying for gear. And so the first time I got any money for fighting, I was like, man, this is great. So
Yeah, that's right here. This is a $20 bill. 3 years ago yesterday, that was the first money I ever got paid to do stand-up comedy. So that's why I kept it. Yeah, it's $20. That's it. But it was proof that I could get paid to do something that I loved and that I worked at. So that's why I
yeah.
saved it. So yeah, yeah. I mean, it's a
Are you
rough
still doing
life.
that?
No, I stopped doing it last year, but it was pretty cool though, because I made a friend in Vegas. That's where I was living at the time, and just randomly met him at a bar, and then I started teaching him everything I could about comedy, and then most of it was his own talent, but he blew up pretty fit quickly, and he's still my absolute best friend to this day. And but I just it was just one of those things, like I kind of fell out of love with it. I was
Yeah.
going up there and doing it, but I wasn't doing it because I loved it anymore. So I was like, all right, I'm wasting my time, I'm wasting comedy's time, and I'm wasting other comedians' time. I think I need to step away and I'm very happy with that decision. I don't regret it or nothing, but yeah, I stopped doing it. But it was fun. It was a great experience. I got to perform in front of some pretty cool crowds in New York, and even Vegas and everything. I got to do some cool experiences, but it's a part of my life I'll look back on fondly, but it's not meant to be anymore.
That's great. All right.
Yeah.
So, you know what? I just realized, just came to me. I kind of like got off topic a little bit. So you just get back to how I started and how I got into training. Um, so, you know, with that martial arts experience, I always knew that after I was done fighting, that I was going to be a trainer. Um, so, you know, I fought for, you know, all those years, and then like my last fight was with Morales in 2002, and then, you know, after that, uh, you know, I just, you know, was hitting the gyms, and you know, I just started, and you know, when I was actually from my karate school, there was a guy, Brian Schwartz, that, you know, I'd been teaching karate since he'd been 10, and you know, I was 16, um, and you know, I'd been teaching him and taking him to tournaments, and you know, he became a world champion kickboxer. But you know, I was training him, and there's another kid, Santos Soto, who, you know, he actually uh, was ended up being like, I think he was like fourth or fifth in the country at 152 pounds. Um, and then he only had one pro fight, and then he started up an internet company, you know, because
Hmm.
he was a college student. I was like, hey man, if you're gonna start an internet company, that's the last thing you need to do is get your brain scrambled. So like, I just
Right.
told him, this fighting stuff's done for you. Um, so you know, but Brian became a world champion kickboxer, and we opened up a gym together called Undisputed in the Bay Area. You know, and then, you know, things happen. Business and friends don't usually mix. So like, you know, I got bought out of the gym, and I opened up my own gym. Um
B Street.
and through, yeah, B Street. And then through through my gym, I trained, I don't know, man, I probably trained, let me see, we got 10 Golden Glove champions coming out of, San Francisco or Bay Area, Northern California. That's what they call it now. Northern California Golden Gloves. Got 10 Northern California Golden Glove champions that came out of there. We've had a 2-time WBO flyweight female champion, Melissa McMorrow. We actually came, my first time to Germany, we came here and she beat a girl, undefeated girl, Susie Kentic, and she was, like one of the top women female fighters at the time. Beat her for the title, came back, beat another German girl, Nadia Raoui. And then, they kind of iced her, and she was inactive for a year, and then the WBO stripped her. And then, we had to go to Mexico, and I cannot remember the girl's name off the top of my head, but she actually moved down in weight and she won a title. But went to Mexico and we beat her for the WBO title, and so Melissa became a 2-time champion.
Hell yeah!
And I brought some of my fighters to come over and spar with Berto and Khan,
Andre Berto.
right? Yeah, Andre Berto and Amir Khan. So like Virgil called me and said, "Hey, do you got any fighters to spar with these?" And I said, "Yeah, I'll bring some guys." And so,
so this was recently. Then this was like 2015. Then, huh?
You know what? I think the first, I want to say it was like 2011 or 2012.
Dang, I did not know Khan was training with Virgil that early.
Yeah, I think it was 2012, maybe 2013. So it was right around then.
Okay.
And so I came over and Virgil was like, "Hey, I'm looking for someone that someone to help me out. I got a lot of good fighters coming through, and I just need somebody that really knows what they're doing. All right, you need help? I'll help you. I'll come over and help you."
And side note, I don't mean to cut you off, but just so the audience knows, if somebody like Virgil Hunter gives you their stamp of approval, like that's massive. He's yes. He is one of the top guys in the game now, of all time, in my opinion. I mean, I could be biased because I'm from this era. I'm from the newer era. I didn't grow up with Custy Amato or Angelo Dundee or nothing. I grew up with like Verge and now Eddie Reynoso. But I mean, to me, Verge is incredible. My favorite all time Stewart, but Verge is
that's what I was gonna say. Like Emmanuel Stewart is probably my favorite as well.
Perfect timing, my guy. Richardson.
Who?
Brother Nassim.
Yeah, Nassim Richardson. Yeah. You know what? Yeah, he did some great work, and I loved his demeanor in the corner. As always, I had a lot of respect for him.
I'm really good friends with Manny Stewart's last student, actually, Anthony Sims Jr. I don't know if you know who he is. Fantastic fight. Yeah, fantastic fighter, fantastic dude. But I didn't mean to cut you off either, but I don't want to digress too much. But Verge was asking you to come over.
Yeah, so I went over and and I worked with them for I don't know, like 4 years. Let me see. I think right after I was there when I was in the corner when Berto fought Mayweather. And then the next fight when he fought
Victor or Sean.
Yeah, Victor Ortiz when he knocked out Victor Ortiz. Yeah, I was there too. Well, obviously I was in the corner.
Yeah, we might have met actually.
Yeah. That was a just the whole thing was crazy. I remember we were outside the
Yeah,
fight
because it
was
was at
outside,
StubHub.
at StubHub. And I was telling Berto, I was like, Berto, man, you see the sun? Like, you've got to make sure that your back is to the sun, right? If your back, if you're looking in the sun, you're not going to be able to see. Keep your back to the sun. And when he got knocked down, like the sun flashed in his eyes. He couldn't see, and he got hit right at that point. And I was like, oh man. And but then he came back to the corner. He was all upset about it. I was like, you'll be all right. Calm down, brother.
Yeah, and then he knocked him out, I think, the next round or 2 rounds later.
Yeah.
That was I remember it clear as day because I was watching Victor Ortiz walk back to the locker room when that guy threw that food in his face.
So I was standing right there too.
Were you?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
And then they started that big fight, and like
the fans started throwing shit.
Yeah, there's this guy, I can't remember what his name either is. There's a YouTuber, and he had it all on film, and him and I were talking, and all of a sudden, it like that whole thing happened, and they were like arguing, and I was like, oh man, they threw beer, and I was like, come on.
They were throwing all kinds of stuff because I was on the other side of the ring. I can't remember. So basically, I was looking to my right when it happened, like where the tunnel was. So I was facing the ring this way. Yeah. I was over there with the Team Watson guys. I don't know if you know any of them. But I was hanging out with them ringside and everything. But yeah, no, that's so crazy. That was a wild experience, man, because that was a crazy fight card. It was like every fight ended in like David Benavidez knocked some guy out in the second round, like in that card. Yeah. I got to meet Gerald Washington that day, which was cool. He was a Navy vet as well. He fought Eddie Chambers that day, but that was there you go. You see me now? All right,
yeah.
So were you his chief second that fight, or just an assistant, or?
Yeah. Oh no. I was Burge is always the chief second, right? So I was, but like, I'm the guy, warming him up, holding mitts for him, getting him ready, that was my job. Right. So, just growing up, just kind of like learning just kind of a different style, right? And Verge has his own distinct style, and I'm just kind of taking little tricks off him,
right, and kind of molding it to your own. Now, would you say, because I know everybody needs a different style. Like for me personally, I needed advice. I didn't need the motivational speeches. I didn't need I didn't like getting yelled at by my coach because it made me lose focus. I just needed, what did I do wrong? What do I need to do moving forward? That's it. That's all I wanted.
Yep.
Now, is that something, do you have a one style, or do you kind of mold it to your fighter?
Well, I don't think I'm really not a guy that thinks that everybody should fight the same. Everybody, they have different strengths and different weaknesses, right? So, really what it is, when you're training, you're trying to get the weaknesses stronger, and you're really trying to accentuate the strengths, right? So, especially when you're going into a fight, you're trying to make sure that you're leading your opponent into your strengths and you're hiding your weaknesses from them. So everybody's got to fight a little different, right? Especially with body type, and some guys have better chins than others. So it always varies, and I'm a real believer in, sometimes you gotta like light a fire, under a guy's ass, but for the most part, I'm looking at a fight, watching how it develops, and say, hey, you got to watch out for this. This is what's going to happen next. This is what you got to look for, and this is how you should take advantage of it, right? So I'm that is what I think is one of my strengths, just because I grew up fighting and grew up analyzing fights, and really trying to be strategic in how to break somebody down over the course of a fight. And really, that all started out, from like most people, or most fighters starts out street fighting, and you grow up and learning. And I'm kind of psycho that way as a kid. I just everybody that was like tough guys in the school, I'm like, okay, well, this is what I would need to do to beat him. How am I going to beat him? And so, and then it kind of carried over into boxing, and so I think that's always been a strength of mine, and how to really tell, or show a fighter, or lead a fighter to victory that way, and just kind of give them a good strategic game plan, and being able to make adjustments on the fly during the fight.
Yeah, that's a big thing I've noticed more prevalently as of late, is fighters really failing to make adjustments on the fly. Like it was extremely evident when, like, your Dennis Ugas fought Errol Spence. They had a specific game plan, and it wasn't working, and Ugas was unable to make adjustments, and he kind of just shelled up. And I mean, granted, having your eye socket broken is not going to help, but shout out to him, by the way, tough SOB, fantastic fighter. But it was just, I don't know if it was more just Spence was just so talented or what, but I really get upset. It's a big distinguishing factor. I don't do pound for pound lists. I think they're silly, but like, I kind of know who's great and who's really good, and being able to make adjustments on the fly is a huge one. And the marriage between a fighter and a trainer is significantly important too. And I see fighters switch trainers a lot. It's kind of a bad sign, because like a trainer's good. Like, for example, Joe Goosen is a great trainer, but that doesn't mean he's going to be great for every fighter. And I see a lot of these guys switching fighters, and they'll go here, there, and everywhere. And it's more unsettling for me, if in terms of like predicting how it'll go, rather than, just because he's a good trainer or a good fighter, that it doesn't mean it's always going to work out, So do you have a feeling out process like that to determine if you could work with a guy or not before you start bringing him on?
You know what? I'm really different in this. I'm really different in this case, in respects to that. I have to really like a fighter personally in order to train them. If I don't like them, then I can't do it, right? Because I know that, one, I have to spend a lot of time with them, right? You're going to spend a lot of time with this guy, more time than probably anybody else. And I'm really giving them a piece of me, right? So in order for me to do that, and to really give them the best training, then we become friends, so
Correct.
So the person I'm here with in Germany is this guy Evgeny Shevchenko. So he's going to fight William Skull. We're fighting.
Can you say that again? You cut out a little bit, Coach. Can you say his name again?
Yeah, Evgeny, and last name is Shevchenko.
Okay. What weight class is he?
Super middle, 168.
Okay.
So he's fighting William Skull on July 2nd, and it's an IBF eliminator. So the winner is going to fight for the title, whether it's Canelo or for a vacant title. Right.
Okay.
So he first came to the gym in 2014. Yeah, 2004. Yeah, actually, let me take that back. He came in 2015. Yeah, 2015.
And he's a Russian guy?
Yeah, Russian. He was 3-0 at the time. And he borrowed some money from some friends and flew to LA. Went to Wild Card and, trained there for a few weeks. And, different trainers were, trying to show him some things. And And I got a Ukrainian kid in my gym, an amateur at the time. He doesn't fight anymore. Now he started a heavy bag company called Grodex, him and his father.
Grodex?
Yeah, Grodex. You look it up on the website. Look it up on the internet. They make these really high end, beautiful heavy bags. They're awesome, right? So his father one day says, "Hey, Eddie, do you want some like Russian or Ukrainian pros? Do you want some? I can get some guys for you, and you can." I was like, "What? Like, dude, how long you been holding this from me? Are you serious?"
Hey, you know
right?
those guys that are dominating combat sports right now?
Yeah,
Would you
I
like
was
some?
I was like, you are tripping, right? How long you been holding out on me, right? So then he calls down to LA, and Evgeny was down there. So Evgeny drove up, and I said, "Hey, so you have a trainer? No. Do you have a manager? No. Okay. If we work out, you want to train with me?" And he goes, "Yeah, yeah." So I said, "Hey, okay, good. Why don't you get in the ring, shadow box?" And he starts shadow boxing, and I'm watching him, and I don't know what he's thinking, but I'm like looking at him and just kind of like saying, "Okay, he's athletic, he's strong, he's fast, got some technical flaws," and I started asking him about different things. And his English wasn't real great, so we're kind of I'm asking the kid, his name is Eden. I'm asking him, and he's like translating to Russian for me. And and Evgeny said, "Hi, you know what? I never even thought of some of the things you asked me, right?" And so I said, "Hey, you want to try it out?" He goes, "Yeah." So he went back to LA, got his stuff, came back like the next week, and then we started training. And then he signed up with the promoter here in Germany. They're called Foster Sports, and Facher. So signed up with them, and been fighting in Germany ever since. And so he's strung together a bunch of wins. His biggest win is probably against Najib Mohammadi.
Okay.
He beat him. He's won a WBC international title along the way, and we won we won another belt that actually got him. I think it was an IBO regional belt, and that is what got him kind of catapulted into the IBF rankings. And so right now he's ranked third by the IBF, which the IBF they don't have a number one or number two, right? So they leave those vacant, blank for some reason.
It's because they're the ones that'll strip you if you don't fight your mandatory. So they leave them empty, right, so they don't have to strip so many people. They're out of their mind.
So it's fine. Yeah, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
So we've been he's been ranked third for a couple of years now. We've been trying to get this eliminator fight, for 2 years, and it's been knocked out from COVID 4 different times.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So the first time was against a guy, Eidos Urbosanuli. He, like the week before we were supposed to fight, he pulled out. He said he had COVID, which I don't know. I'm a little skeptical about that one. And then it turns out the guy, turns around and fights a journeyman for a WBA eliminator fight like 3 months later, right? And then we were supposed to fight this guy Vladimir Shishkin, who trains out of the Kronk, right?
Yep.
And then
I know exactly what you're talking about.
yeah, and he got COVID. So then that fight fell apart. And then we're supposed to fight Caleb Truax. And then about 3 weeks before the fight, COVID ran through their gym, and then one of the older coaches in their gym passed away. Actually, I can't remember what that guy's name is either.
Condolences to him, though.
Yeah. So he pulled out, and then they were going to remake the fight, and then I don't know if he got COVID. I don't know. I think Truax got COVID that time, so he had to pull out again. And so now finally, we got it. We're just less than 2 weeks away now.
Yeah, and you're in a weight class that is absolutely on fire too. It's been one of my favorites for a long time, and I'm glad that it's finally getting the attention it deserves, with Canelo being there and everything. But it's a great division. That, and I think 154 are my two favorites. Mike, you're here with us. Welcome in.
Yeah, dude.
Just talking about Coach Eddie's guy coming up with a fight. He's one of those guys that has I don't care what combat sport you're in, wrestling, mixed martial arts, boxing. If you're fighting a guy
WWE
if you're fighting a guy with like a Muslim first name and a Russian last name, you're gonna have a rough day. Okay.
Yeah.
That's just
my UFC guy, like I've got a friend that hit me up for boxing bets. I got a UFC guy. His theory is you never bet against a guy from a Soviet country who looks Asian.
Oh yeah, Bivol. Who's that guy?
You'll lose every time.
Bektemir Melikuziev, that's another killer.
Yeah, you lose every time.
Yeah. And then how do you say Afghani's last name?
Evgeny Shevchenko.
Shevchenko?
Yep.
I got a list. That's all you, bro.
Yeah, he has I bet you he has a great right hand, doesn't he?
It's like a missile.
Yeah, I figured as much. And speaking of those guys like that, this past weekend we saw probably one of the scariest fighters in today's game, Artur Beterbiev, absolutely deconstructs a world champion, a legitimate world champion, in Joe Smith Jr. I didn't think it would happen that quickly. I did think Beterbiev was gonna, it was just one of those things. Like, Joe Smith Jr. is known for his power and his toughness, but at the end of the day, that's pretty much it when it comes to what he does inside the ring. It was like he had a shotgun, yes, but Beterbiev had a belt-fed machine gun and was ready.
We all knew that too. Like, the non-boxing fans knew what we were walking into.
Right.
However, we thought maybe Joe lands a right.
And Beterbiev hurt him what?
I didn't think so. Like, I just didn't see any way he could win.
Joe Smith Jr.
Joe.
Yeah. Or I didn't see any way that he could make the fight competitive. Because he's got slow feet. And people say that that Beterbiev is not fast, or like, wait, come on, man. He's not like a speed burner, but he's got above average speed, right? And he's well schooled. He gets good position. His defense is better than people think.
He doesn't overextend.
His punches are short and they're direct and they land with
selected
ferocity.
Well too. He selects his punches well too.
Yeah. So the only person that I could see Bivol giving him problems because Bivol have good footwork. And it's going to take somebody that's able to move 12 rounds to stay on their toes and circle and, kind of change the distance on them and throw lots of feints and get him really to move his guard around defensively. Right. If you allow him to kind of hold his hands where he wants to keep them and keep his hands at home, where he doesn't have to move them a lot and his punches can come out short and direct, then you don't have a chance, right? But, a guy like Bivol might be able to give him some problems.
What about
And
Gilberto
again,
Ramirez?
yeah.
You think Gilberto Ramirez, even with his size and his just too,
No.
not
Yeah,
even a
he's just-
chance, huh?
I mean, it'll go longer than Joe Smith, but I don't think he's going to win.
Mm. So
The thing with Zerto is he weighs 200 on fight night.
Yeah,
But
Yeah,
like kind
but
of what you
I mean-
said, I think
that's just a harder
stylistically,
fall.
I think stylistically, I think Canelo beats Beterbiev before Bivol does.
hell,
I don't
no.
think so. I think Beterbiev gets him out of there. I'm being honest, and I'm a Canelo
Canelo?
fan. I know when Canelo fans hear this, they're gonna say some shit. I'm sorry, guys. I love Canelo. Don't get me wrong, but I think there's no way. I don't even think he's no.
Here's my theory. My theory is we've never seen Canelo wobbled or drop
Yes, we have. Miguel Cotto's brother wobbled him.
Yep.
when he was 19.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know. You might be right.
And you know what? Bivol had him shelling up in the later part of that fight. And
100%.
Canelo,
And he was gassed.
yeah.
That's why I think he showed up. I think he was burnt.
Yeah, he was gassed. I mean, so Evgeny was on the Russian team with Bivol, and
Oh, really?
yeah, and he told me before the fight, he's like, Bivol's going to beat him. Like, yeah, you think so? And he goes, yeah. I said I could see that, but I'm always concerned about the enormity of the situation, of the fight. Because you know what? I tell you what, I fought on a pay-per-view card, right? And I was when I fought Barrera, I was a semi-main event, and it was on the undercard of Bo Holyfield 3, right? And I remember getting into the ring and man, like I'd fought on TV probably 8 times before that. I fought on CBS one time, but when you're on like pay-per-view and HBO Sports, like those TV lights are so hot, right? You get in that ring and it's about 20 degrees hotter, and it's like you're stepping into a tanning salon, right? A tanning booth. And you see the big signs at HBO
Yeah.
Sports. I looked down to my right, I saw Magic Johnson. I looked to my left, I saw Kurt Russell and Goldie Hawn, and I said, man, this is big time, right? And so, just that the enormity of the situation is always different, and it's like you never know how people are going to react to it, especially like a guy like Bivol. He hadn't fought in America that much. I think he only had like maybe 3 fights here, maybe 5, but not very many,
I think
right?
3 or 4.
Yeah. And
Nothing on the magnitude of a Canelo fight, though.
No.
No, the biggest
And-
one was Bivol beat Joe Smith.
Right. Yeah, and so it was just like a different thing. So I thought maybe he might, have like just a little bit of a difficult time getting loose, and it might take him some time to really get into the fight. But I was wrong, and Evgeny was right.
Well, I mean, it speaks to who you have in your corner, because I'm really cool with Joel Diaz, and Joel Diaz was definitely prepared for the moment. He's trained against Pacquiao before. He's trained against a lot of big guys, and just same thing like when I interviewed Mario and talked to him like, hey, how big of an advantage is it for you to have a guy like Verge in your corner? And it's important, because if you've never been there, like you're like Afghani, if he fights for this 168 belt for the IBF, he's going to walk into a situation he's never been in before. But to have somebody like you in his corner who has experienced that, it's massive. If
Right.
you don't want a guy steering the ship who's never done it before, and I think it's a huge thing. So is that something you relish, is getting a fighter in a position like that for you guys to embrace together?
You know what? I've been waiting for this, or not, I've been working, I should say. I've been working for this essentially my whole life. like I said, when I was a kid, I was teaching people, and even when I was fighting, I knew I was going to be a trainer after. And I always felt that eventually the time would come that it was going to be me, right? I used to watch Emmanuel Stewart as a kid. I was in sixth grade when Leonard and Hearns fought the first time. And I just remember, that huge fight coming up, and, Leonard
That's
was off.
two great
Leonard
trainers
was,
that went against each
yeah,
other in that
yeah.
fight.
Leonard was my hero, right? Leonard, that's
Me
who
too.
I wanted
Me
to
too.
be, right?
He's our
And
goat.
but at the same time, just I just had the utmost respect for like the Kronk and those guys, just like how hard they trained, just and the thing was, back then, they didn't have the internet, right? So, I'm reading everything out of magazines, right? Ring magazine, and learning about all these guys and what they do. And so, and books and newspaper, man, they had that was, back then they had boxing like articles in the newspaper. And people don't even read newspapers anymore. I read on the internet, but
I had to get newspaper articles sent to me in boot camp because we didn't get the internet in boot camp, obviously. So my mom would send me newspaper articles about like Mayweather versus Ortiz, and I had to read about how the fight happened in boot camp and shit. So yeah, it's definitely something I remember.
And I'm from the Philadelphia area, man, and like Philly's known as a fighting town, and like Julian Williams had to win all the belts from Hurd before he ever got any love from like the media.
Yeah.
And Steve Cunningham never got it.
Yeah, man, and that guy was, cruiserweight champion forever.
Yeah. Shout out to him.
Dude,
if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be here where I'm at right now. He was the first big guest I ever got on.
Top 5 cruiserweight of all time, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What he
and
did
I'll
to
tell you
Marco
what,
Huck
Philly,
over there in
Philly
Germany.
loved Bernard. He had to go to Europe to fight everyone. He fought Huck. He fought all of them.
Mm-hmm.
Philly loved Bernard, and they love Boots.
Yeah, they love Boots now.
But there are a lot of fighters that don't get love. Fulton doesn't get love. Dude,
No?
Fulton, top 5 on earth, in my opinion.
Like out of everybody, like pound for pound, you mean? Or do you mean in that weight class? Ooh, I don't know.
No, I mean,
I'm not getting into this. You know how I feel about pound for pound shit. I'm not doing this with you today. He always tries to drag me into this pound for pound shit, and he always says something that upsets me, and then I'm like, nope, I'm not gonna let you win. I'm not.
And you know what? He's right. I got a heavy Philly bias, but you can't tell me Fulton ain't a top 10 boxer on earth.
No, I don't want to say that because he's a great fighter, but I don't like.
And because you don't want to say it because of me.
No, I just think
you're talking about Stephen Fulton.
Correct. Cool boy Steph.
Yes.
Or Steph, cool boy. Maybe.
Eddie, I'll
maybe.
I got a heavy Philly bias. My favorite boxer is Gabe Rosado.
Hey, shout out to Gabe though. You know what?
I like Gabe.
Old school, buddy.
I met him one time. I met him twice, and he's a really nice guy, and like a good fighter, just not one of the top fighters.
Never back down though. That's what I got.
However,
that's what I love about him. Fought everybody.
Good fighter. Yeah. I think he's been robbed of 3 legitimately, legacy wins. I thought he beat Jacobs. I thought he beat Quillen. And then he got robbed versus Jermell.
I don't know.
But
Jacobs, but that Jacobs fight was so bad, no one deserved to win.
Again, I'm biased.
That was a terrible fight.
So when you train these... I'm sorry.
I felt like I just felt like Jacobs is like, kind of
1 foot out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
planning is next step in life.
Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate because he is an amazing fighter, but
Yeah.
I don't like seeing guys fight when their mind's not all the way in it, because that's when people get hurt
Yeah.
and shit.
Yeah.
And
Danny got killed by the guy that he lost to. Could have been like GG level, but got paralyzed. Like he got
about
knocked out by
Dimitri-
Parag.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And
but
Jacob's a great fighter, but like, yeah, he's cashing out.
So like guys like that, or guys like Gabe Rosado, who are a little too tough for their own good sometimes, as a trainer, because it's, as a fighter, you never want your trainer to throw in the towel. You want to go out on your shield. But as a trainer, when your fighter's safety is kind of, it's your responsibility and the ref's responsibility. Is it something you think about? Like, is there a point for you, or do you? I hope have you been in this position yet? I hope not.
Once. Yeah, once I got a guy, Ricardo Pinell, who actually came into my gym at 23 years old, and started really late, right? Never boxed or anything, and I got him, some amateur fights. He won the Open, Golden Gloves, and the thing was, he just, since he started so late and he always had like 1 foot in the streets, right? He just never really trained, right? But he had a lot of talent, and so like he would win fights and kind of keep fights close. And I actually had him, got him in the Boxino tournament. He fought John Thompson, who ended up, like, John Thompson was a late replacement, and Ricardo lost to him in an 8-round decision. Ricardo didn't eat for like 6 days to make weight and stuff like that, just because, just like not really kind of giving himself an honest chance to win. But he hurt him. He had him hurt, and I was like, dude, if you would have had any gas, you would have got him out of there, right? And Thompson ended up winning the whole thing. He won the whole tournament, and he fought Liam Smith for the IBF title, after that tournament.
Right.
I was like, see, Ricardo, that could have been you. But so in one of his fights, he gets knocked down in the first round, and he gets up, he's doing okay, right? And then he gets dropped again in the second round. And so I'm like looking at him going, man, I don't know, I'm like, I think you're okay. It comes back to the corner. I go, hey, talking to him, and just seeing how he responds. And he was responding fine. And then I, start coaching him through the fight, and he's actually coming back. He's making a comeback, and the fight's now like pretty close to even in like the 7th or 8th round, right? And then he gets knocked down again, and he gets up, and by this time I'm thinking, okay, I'm just gonna try to get him through the fight, just so so we don't get suspended for too long or whatever. And then finally, like in the 10th round, I see him like wobble a little bit, and I just jumped up on the ring apron and I said, hey, that's enough, right? We gotta call it. I tried my best to get him through the fight, but it was like too much. And so
Now, does the thought of you doing that, does the thought of like, this could affect my relationship with said fighter, does that even enter your mind at all?
No.
Because
if they die, or even worse, if they are permanently injured,
like Gerald McClellan or something.
Yeah, or something like that, right?
Because that was a mishandled by his corner. That's why that's a lot of the reason why he is the way he is because they wouldn't let him stop fighting. He was asking to stop fighting, and they wouldn't stop it. Yeah.
Especially if someone asks me, if someone says to me, hey, can we stop the fight? I'm stopping the fight, right? But it's me that's gonna say, dude, you're done. You know,
Right.
and if they're mad at me and you know they want to leave me for that and go to another trainer, I'm like, dude, you know, be my guest, right? I'm like, you know, I'm stopping the fight because like I care about you. And like I said earlier, like you know, I build personal relationships with all my fighters. Like Evgeny is like my son,
Right.
right? And same thing with Ricardo. He's like my kid, right? So I was like, you know, after that, you know, he went to college and graduated college, and you know, he's a journeyman pipe fitter now, and got married, has kids, and you know, has a daughter and one kid. And I'm like, dude, man, you got so much to live for. You know, right now, you know, you think that this is the end of the world, but really, it's just beginning, right? If you got permanently injured, then it's the end of the world, right? Or if you're dead, there's no coming back from that.
Yeah.
So,
It's almost like you'd rather ask them for forgiveness than spend the rest of your life trying to forgive yourself. You know what I'm saying?
like, if they want to be mad at me for that, and it's okay. You know, I'm okay.
That's why it
I'm
was a
okay
huge
with
red
like,
flag to
I
me.
definitely
Oh,
am.
shit. Say that again. You cut out again.
No. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm so yeah.
I
It's
just said
breaking up.
if the guys are mad, you know, yeah, go ahead. You were
That
saying
well,
it's a red flag.
yeah, because I don't mean to throw dirt on his name. I know he has highly passionate fans, but you know, I don't want to paint a picture or something, but it's something that happened when Deontay Wilder lost the first time to Tyson Fury, and he not only fired Mark Breland, but he blamed Mark Breland, said he was like out to get him or something like that. I don't want to put words in the guy's mouth because I don't remember the exact quote, but that just stands out to me as like there was a disconnect going into the fight, or maybe the relationship wasn't as good as it should have been going into a fight of that magnitude. But to blame your trainer and outright say he was out to get you, I mean, that's something that is highly reflective, maybe why the fight went that way. You know what I'm saying? That's why I think it's
Right.
important for the relationship to exist.
Yeah, and you know what? Like, I don't. You know, I can't really. It's hard to say because I don't know, and I'm not. You know, I've never seen them train, or I've never seen Wilder train. But I felt like he hadn't improved in a long time, right?
Right.
And you know, he was really. If you think about it, that like that right hand was like probably one of the top 5 weapons in boxing history,
Oh
right?
yeah. He had the
Yeah,
power of
because
Christ in his hand.
yeah, because you know, he doesn't, like, he lacks a lot of fundamentals, doesn't have much, you know, in the way of anything else, right? I mean, you know, he's got some speed, right? But you know, not good defense, not good footwork, no jab to speak of, no left hook. You know, even kind of a halfway decent right uppercut, and you know, and that. But if he can, if he gets, you know, enough distance to throw, you know, a straight right hand, and that thing catches you, everybody's going down,
Yeah, it's
right? So
nuts.
right, and so you know, I used to look at Hearn's right hand in the, you know, like, man, that's a right hand. Think about it, you know, think about Hearn's. You know, at least, you know, he had a good jab, decent left hook, you know, pretty good right uppercut, but he, you know, he had decent footwork. He had like, you know, fairly good fundamentals. You can tell that he had, you know, a good amount of amateur fights, right?
Right.
But zero chin. So, which means, you know, that his right hand just put so much fear in people, or got, you know, people to respect him, that they couldn't really just wade through and try to get him out of there, right? Because, you know, especially as you know, a welterweight, he didn't have the best chin, right? And Leonard was really the only guy that could get to him, right? That could stand up under that pressure, of getting hit with that right hand, and finally break them down. And so, I Wilder's right hand was even better, right? Like, I was like, man, I've been watching boxing my whole life, and I'd never seen a weapon like that. So,
Yeah,
I just felt like, man, if someone would have been able to, or if someone can still even, I think, just say, hey, you know what, let's slow down a little bit and, figure out how to always keep you in position to have that weapon as a, major threat, right? You always stay in position and, teach them just a little bit of defense and a little bit of footwork, just to always keep them in the position to throw that missile, right? And I think he probably would have got Fury out of that at least the first time,
yeah.
right? Maybe not the second fight, but at least the first time he would have got him out of there.
What about a guy? He gets criticized a lot, but I think recently he just showed that he's more talented than I think people gave him credit for. But a guy like Rolly Romero, he's got a very unorthodox style, and admittedly he has some holes in his game. But do you see him potentially reaching like a higher level than where he's at right now with the skill set that he possesses?
Possibly, because he's awkward. He's some fast twitch stuff. He definitely has power. But he's a guy that you would have to also break down and like kind of teach him and teach him, just being a little more strategic in how to land those punches, right?
Right.
You can tell he's just trying to get close enough to you and just to swing for the fences.
Well, that's what ended up getting him caught. When you go back and watch that, he threw those two overhand right hands and didn't lead with anything. He just led with overhand rights. And I mean,
the one, well, see, like the one that he finally got caught on, was a right. He threw a right hand to the body, and Tank caught it on his arm and just caught it on his left arm and then shot back on the same side, and with his left hand and just bam, right. And so Tank saw, caught the same punch, like a little earlier in the round, and you can tell like he'd been lining that shot up for a few rounds. You could see him like kind of sliding along the ropes and boxing, and Rolly would throw the punches, then he'd catch him, and he's like, okay, a couple more rounds, I'm gonna have this timing down. And then finally, Rolly threw that punch, and he actually, see, the one thing is, like going to the body is important, right? But you have to remember, if you go to the body, you're giving up your head.
Yeah,
right?
that's why I didn't do it a lot.
Right. Well, but yeah, well, you have to.
Yeah.
You have to if you want to beat the top guys, and especially in 10 and 12 round fights. You just have to.
Yeah.
Right. Unless you're Wilder, and you can starch guys with one punch.
Heavyweight boxing, though, is almost a completely different sport than the rest of it, to an extent. Because if you look at guys like Canelo and Spence, those are both two high volume body punchers,
Right.
And even Andre Ward, a lot of people thought he was a jab and stick and move guy. They forget that Andre Ward's one of the best inside fighters of all time too.
Vicious to the body.
Yeah.
And that is also like a little bit of his game plan is to kind of hit you on the top of the cup. right?
Who's that, Ward?
Yeah. He's like, he's the cleanest dirty fighter ever.
Him and Bernard, bro.
Yeah. So like, he's not trying to hit you low, but he's like hitting you on the belt line, right? And he, like I've seen Andre spar, I don't know, maybe 400 rounds. And he would do that all the time. He sparred with him and Evgeny sparred actually.
Really?
Yeah. Him and Evgeny sparred, I don't know, maybe 20 rounds. And yeah, when Evgeny first came to me, and it was actually when Andre first signed with Rock Nation. So
okay,
like maybe, oh, you know what? It was when he was fighting when he fought Sullivan Barrera.
Okay. After that was after his layoff.
After Dawson. Yeah. So when he fought Sullivan Barrera, Evgeny sparred with him, maybe 20, 30 rounds leading up to that fight.
That's super good. That's an experience like that is irreplaceable. You know what I'm saying? Like, just to be able to do that. Speaking of these low blows and, fighters having it a little bit better today, one of my favorite guys last year fought on that Jake Paul undercard. Regis Prograis, he fought Ivan Redkach. I don't know if you saw that fight.
I did.
When the fight that the punch that ultimately ended the fight, and Redkach was doing what your old opponent did, rolling around on the ground, writhing in pain for a low blow that didn't happen. And they were allowed replay for that. And Regis ended up getting the win because it's like, homie live. They carried him out on a stretcher, dude.
Come on, man.
It was embarrassing. And it made me so mad because I was already mad that Jake Paul was fighting a retired MMA fighter and it was getting so much credence. I was like, all right, at least they got Regis and Ivan on the card. That's two good fighters, and they had Steve on that card. I was like, they have a chance for Regis to really show out. He has a lot of eyes on him. You can see his talent. And then for it to end like that, I was so pissed. I don't think I've ever been more pissed off at another fighter than I was with Ivan Redkach. And this was after he already bit Danny Garcia. So I didn't like him that much to begin with, but yeah. Do you like that? So something that happened to you, like, it can't really happen again, that fighters are allowed to have replay for stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, but you have to remember, replay is only there for the fights that are on TV. Right?
Oh yeah.
So, I mean, if there's no television, there's no replay. Yeah. And if it, even if it's also, if it's like, a small internet, like if it's on Facebook Live or something, there's no replay. So, ESPN show, pay-per-view show, something where there's the trucks and the satellite trucks, then you have the chance for replay. Like those, because all that stuff costs money. I think, having the guys, the producers, and all the guys in the trucks, running the replay, all that stuff costs money. It's a big budget. So if it's a small budget show, you're not getting that. So like, I'm happy for the guys that make it to the large, the big budget shows. Then great, that. Because that's the last thing as a paying customer, someone, especially if you're paying for a pay-per-view show, you don't want to fight to end like that, right?
No,
or and so like it's good to get replay in that respect.
Yeah. Well, hopefully Afghani doesn't need it on July 2nd. Is that fight going to be on TV?
Here in Germany, it'll be on TV. I think they have. So, I think the station or the network here in Germany that bought it, I think they're going to stream it on the internet. And you know what? If you guys have me on again, or I can send you. I'll send you a message on Instagram or something when I get all the information.
Oh yeah, I'll for sure share it. And yeah, we'll definitely have you on again for sure. We would like to do the weekly thing or semi-weekly whenever you can, of you
Yeah,
just
that'd be
breaking
awesome.
down the fight. You're much better at breaking down the X's and O's than either one of us will. And there's enough YouTube channels of guys just breaking down boxing, and it's like, bro, who are you? Like, it's just random guys. Yeah, it's so yeah, I would love to have you on for that if that's something you'd be interested in.
Yeah, I would love it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. If you can't tell, we love talking about this stuff, but I don't want to be on here all day. I know it's night for you. You're over there in Europe and everything. So before we get you out of here, go ahead, guys. He's wearing the shirt. If you're listening, you've heard us mention it before. Snack is a sports nutrition company. They're the biggest one in boxing. Support champions like Shakur Stevenson, Devin Haney, Caleb Plant, Demetrius Andrade. The list goes on, and they sponsor those guys for a reason, right? It's stuff that legit helps your performance in any type of fitness activity, not just boxing. But in boxing, like I always say, they're not just number one, they're the only one, and that's for a reason. Great product, and you guys can get 25% off if you use code BStreet25. That's our man Eddie Croft's code. They also have a 30% off sale for the Green Apple Expedite. Just use code GreenApple. snac.com. Go ahead, help them out, help him out, and most importantly, help yourself out. And would you say those heavy bags were called Gore-Tex?
Grodex. G-R-O-D. Yeah, Grodex.
Yeah, so go and check that out. I'm checking that out as soon as we get off of here. Watch his man fight on July 2nd. Follow my page, follow his page on Instagram, Eddie Croft, EDDIECROFT. We're gonna watch his man fight and win. Hopefully, watch him fight for a title before the year's over. But thank you so much for coming on. It's been great talking to you, and I hope we get you on here again soon.
Awesome. Thank you so much for inviting me, guys. I'd love to come on again.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything else before
Make it a
we get you
regular
out
thing.
of here? Oh, it's gonna be a regular thing.
Right on. No, you know what? I'm excited. It was a lot of fun chatting with you guys.
No problem. And Mike apologizes for having issues with his service and work. He's really sorry about that. He's normally here, but he's an awesome dude, awesome co-host. So next time you'll be on, he'll be here for sure. And I got nothing left for you, and if you got nothing left for us, man, it's been an honor, and we loved having you on.
Right on, man. Thank you so
much. All right,
much.
guys, enjoy the fight this week, and we'll see you for the next episode of Punchlines. We're out.